On the Pearl of Wisdom NHL betting. No, not betting. NHL show Frolic. NHL show Frolic. Something like that. I'm going to keep on playing around with the title on this thing. Normally, I'm from Rico and Perlo's House of Exotic Jaime's Picks Frolic. And that's at 10:30 Eastern, 10:30, 11. There's no rules. There's no rules at Pearl of Wisdom Industries, don't you know? And but today we're going to be talking about Dylan Larkin. Dylan Larkin makes a trade request. Where he may go. Well, I'm pretty sure I know where he's going to go. Some of the return they're going to have. I think this is devastating for the Detroit Red Wings, man. This is you let your organization down. I don't know how hard to recover from Stevie Y thing. I could see Stevie Y stepping upwards down or something here. Before we get into the return for Larkin, I mean, you're going to see trade proposals all over the place, but a few things that you got to look at when you're looking at a player of this magnitude on a team. Hometown boy, he's been there 9-10 years, hasn't won a cup. Got really mad the year before last when Stevie Yzerman didn't add at the deadline, and then Stevie Yzerman had his hands tied behind his back, because he promised him, if you're in a playoff spot, that I'll go out and get some players. That he ended up overpaying for Justin Falk for first. And it appears like Dylan's just got fed up. So here's what I think is going to happen first. We'll you can comment in the comment section and tell me what you think is going to happen, or what you want to happen, or make your trade proposals and all of those sort of things like that, because it's going to be a lot of discussion in the land about this, isn't it? Pretty simple. Quinn Hughes and Dylan Larkin have the same agent, Pat Bryson. Quinn Hughes is from the same area. I'm sure they've run into each other a couple of times. Minnesota's close to Detroit. Minnesota needs a center. They're definitely looking for a center. They're definitely looking to be aggressive in this offseason. Definitely looking to be aggressive in the offseason. It just makes too much. Minnesota makes too much sense. But here's the problem. It all depends. Like I said, Quinn Hughes and him have the same agent. I don't care what anybody says. Players talk. Agent. If you have the same agent as some other player, there's a wink, nudge going on here. There's a wink, nudge. Like, nobody's going to hear the conversation, but I think maybe the straw that broke the camel's back was when they didn't get Quinn Hughes to begin with. Quinn did not give vibes that he's willing to sign long, and I don't blame Stevie Y for not making the trade. Apparently it was Edvinsson, Casper plus or something like that. I mean, if you're going to make that deal, you better be re-signing that guy. Okay, so I'll answer that in a second. You better be re-signing that guy, because you're going to be screwed if Hughes decides to go to New Jersey after 2 years, and you got to make another deal with no leverage with New Jersey to get very little back. But as it turns out, he might have put himself in that situation anyways. NHL hockey news reports, what they want back and what they're going to be able to give back are two different things. That's going to be the problem here. It really all depends on how many teams Larkin gives that he'd be willing to be traded to. And Larkin could very well say, I'm going to Minnesota. I'm only waiting for Minnesota. I'm going to Minnesota. I'm only waiting for Minnesota. Minnesota's close. Does he want to go to Canada and take all those taxes? He's an American. Why would he want to go to Canada? Like, I know that people will say, well, look at Carolina because they're in the finals. He wants to win a cup, but you could just as well win a cup in Minnesota. I mean, and so I don't think there's going to be like one team over the other as far as win a cup is concerned. He could go to Montreal and win a cup. He could go to Carolina and win a cup. There's reasonable belief that if he goes to Minnesota, he could win a cup. It all depends on what Stevie Yzerman's going to work out for a deal for a return, because he's not going to want the team he's going to get slaughtered because he wants to win a cup. That's the reason why I don't think this was an easy decision for Larkin. He's from Detroit. He loves Detroit. It's his hometown. Like, he's just got fed up. So I don't think this is an easy decision for him. And he wants to put his family in the best position possible. I'm pretty sure that, I believe he's married. He has kids. He's had to sit down and talk to his wife, and his wife would probably, I'm just guessing here, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the wife would say, can we stay close to home because all of our family's here and everything? So, like, you can cancel Montreal out, probably Ottawa. You can cancel just about everybody out besides Minnesota. Minnesota is where and then if he says, I'm only going to Minnesota, now what Stevie Yzerman has to say is, well, we got to get a return. If you're not going to give us more teams, you're going to have to play here until I get a return from Minnesota, because I'm not giving you up for nothing. Right. And Minnesota is going to be like, well, I know he's coming here. We know he's coming here. So we're not going to give you the bag. You have no leverage whatsoever. You're not getting Eriksson Ek, and you're not getting anybody of real significance. Hopefully you could wrestle Urov. Like, I bet you they're going to be offering like Hartman, Middleton, and a first-round pick. And I think what'll end up happening, because it's going to be a PR disaster too. Well, Minnesota's not far from Detroit, dude. Minnesota's pretty close to Detroit. They're like, it's right there pretty much. It's not that far. I guess you could make, yeah, he's not going to Vegas, dude. No, I can't see it. I can't see it. I could be wrong. I could be like, they don't care about being close to home, and they want to maybe the wife and the family would like to get out of the cold. Detroit's pretty cold. Maybe, they'd be like, hey, you know what? We can bring our family out to Vegas. That's the thing is does Vegas really need to do that? They got Dorofeyev to sign. If he only took Vegas and Vegas could pawn off guys like Hill and Hurdle and stuff like that, yeah, okay, I could see that. It's going to be yeah, I mean, it would be there. I've heard San Jose, I've heard LA, but just he hasn't been in Detroit this long because he likes to be home. To me, that's what I would say. He sounds like a family guy. I don't think they want to move too far away from family in Detroit. So we can look up some stuff here. How old is his children? That can be a big thing. How old are the children? His wife Kenzie welcomed daughter Lenny in May. Oh, they just had their first kid? They just had their first kid. So, like I said, I don't. Yeah, I know. I've heard San Jose stuff like that. I mean, you can look around. I mean, there's every team. New Jersey's gonna, if they have problems with that Heiskanen deal, not Heiskanen, Heischer. I mean, that would be great if you could just pull off a Heischer with Larkin, but that's pretty much a wash. I don't. That would only happen if Heischer wants out of New Jersey. Why would Heischer want to go to Detroit? This is going to be the other thing. Like Brodeen's got a 10-team no trade clause. What's the chances that Detroit's not on it? They haven't made the playoffs in 9 years. Does Brodeen's never won a cup? Does he want to go to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 9 years? That's why I think like Middleton would be all right. Yeah. So now what would the Red Wings want back? They want like Eriksson Ek. That's what they want back. Our man Terry Edelman threw out a trade of Eriksson Ek, something, and a first round pick. If Detroit got that back, they should be doing backflips. Larkin's not that much better than Eriksson Ek. He's better offensively, but Eriksson Ek's an incredible shutdown center. Like that would be landing on your feet huge if that happened. You'd be like, whew, we dodged a bullet there. Yeah, the kid is young. It's just the extended family. It really depends on how much, like, do you want to be, how much do you want to be close to the grandparents and all the other kids? How big a family people are they? There's a lot of extended family there in Detroit for them. If you're like really value being close to your family, you're probably not wanting to go to Vegas or LA. I mean, LA will be on the phone. They just lost Kopitar. They might offer up LaFerriere and a first round pick or more, something like that. Nylander for Larkin. I mean, if I'm Toronto, I do that all day long. But like I said, I have my doubts that he wants to go to Canada. If he's going to go to some other place that's not close to home, I imagine it's going to be a warm location. I would think Dallas or I would think. And maybe a warmer, a place in the East wouldn't be bad. Like he's not going to Boston. Let's go to where he's not going. He's not going to Boston. Boston's not a contender. He's going to a contender for sure. Buffalo, I mean, it's not a very sexy city. If you're going to go to Buffalo, Buffalo's not far from Detroit either. I doubt it. Carolina, I think it's too far away from home. Chicago is still rebuilding. Colorado probably is too far away. Columbus, nobody wants to go to Columbus. And they haven't won in a long time. They got to prove that they can win before a guy like Larkin's going to go there. Nashville, no. New Jersey, maybe. New York, maybe New York. But New York looks like they're rebuilding too, so he's probably not going there. That's further away from home too. The Island, New York Islanders, I mean, that team is not looking too good either. Philadelphia is starting to get further away here again. Minnesota just makes all the sense to me. Minnesota makes all the sense. Pens makes sense. I mean, does that look like a team that does he want to go to a team where the two superstars are pretty much on the edge of, well, one's on the edge of retiring and the other one's going to be 40 years old? And I know that Crosby will still be good for probably who knows how long. He's that good. But do you want to go there? To me, it just seems like the magical fit is Minnesota. It's just and I can't get it out of my head that that Quinn Hughes and Larkin both have Bryson as an agent, and I have a feeling that the straw that broke the camel's back was for Larkin was when they didn't get Quinn Hughes, and I'm sure they talked to each other. I'm positive. I'm sure that they talked to each other through the agent, and he asked, "Why did Detroit not take you?" And they said whatever they said. He wasn't willing to sign long or whatever, and Larkin's been kind of just wasting away his career for like 9 or 10 years, and now he has to trust that they're going to be able to go buy some players to make that team a contender right away. He looks around at that team and goes, okay, let's say we get I don't know who's on the market right now. Let's say we got Brady Tkachuk. I'm not saying that's feasible or whatever, but say you got Brady Tkachuk, okay? They went out and got Brady Tkachuk. Are you a contender? Probably not. No, he just looks around the room. You got kid like Finney. He's probably 3 years away before he's like going to be a mature NHL playoff performer. Lucas Casper, he had a bad sophomore year. You got Raymond DeBrincat. What's going to happen with DeBrincat now, too? Jeez, like what's the fallout from all of this? Yeah, you got Falk. Yay, Falk. The best they could come up with for their first pick was Falk. And I mean, he hears all the noise. I'm sure Stevie Y has been on other players. Like he's probably tried to bring other players in, veteran free agents or what have you, or tried to make trades with players with no trade clauses. But they're like, if they have a no trade clause, Detroit's probably on there. It's not the sexiest city in the world. I've been there. They got some cool stuff, but I mean, it's not the sexiest city in the world, and it's cold, and you haven't made the playoffs for 9 years. What kind of who older free agent wants to go to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 9 years? It's the tough thing about a rebuild is when it's time to buy, you probably haven't made the playoffs for a long time, and you got to try to convince players that you're good to go. And it's been tough. Let's face it. It's been tough. I seriously think it's going to be top 3 destinations other than Mini. I mean, I think Carolina might pique his interest. They need it. Stankoven has done well there at second line center, but he's going to do well as a winger too. Like, it's not like Stankoven's going to become a bad winger because he did well at center. So the only thing is probably they'd want Stankoven as part of the return. Because that's like the only center they have. I'd almost be almost positive if Stevie Y were to give them like 3 or 4 locations to be able to get a return from, like Stankoven would be in that deal. Stankoven, Nadeau, and a first round pick or something like that. That would probably be what that deal is. I think that would pique his interest. There is some other, there's so many factors. How much does Larkin like being in a hockey mad city where everybody knows who you are? He just had a young child. Maybe he doesn't want to expose his young child to constant scrutiny and all of that. Maybe he's actually going the exact opposite way, I'm thinking, and he wants to get out of the limelight and still win a cup. So Carolina wouldn't be a bad look on that. Like I said, maybe his wife is saying, you know what, I'm kind of tired of the cold in Detroit, and I don't need my family around me all the time. We got enough. We're making enough bone that we can pay for plane tickets for our family to come see us. Maybe it is like in Anaheim, maybe it is in Anaheim that we're talking about here. McTavish, which I wouldn't do if I'm Detroit. The guy just isn't a good enough skater, and he doesn't have a high enough hockey IQ to make up for it. It wouldn't be what I would do. I'm pretty sure it would be what Anaheim would be offering, though. McTavish, what's that defenseman that they didn't play in the playoffs? What am I doing? Why can't I remember names? I sit there and look at them constantly all the time. You think I'd remember them. So they got Michael Granlund there. I'm pretty sure he's got a no movement clause, and he's 34 years old. But Mason McTavish is probably not going to be a center in the league. He's going to be a winger. He doesn't have enough speed to play center. So you're really not even getting a center in return in that deal. Olin Zellweger was who I was thinking about. Olin Zellweger, McTavish in a first or something like that. But, I mean, I think if you're getting McTavish, you're making a mistake. Who are you talking about? Leadership role, contender, good culture. Who are you talking about? Dallas, yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, you look at Dallas now. He's got a young child, all right? I don't even remember. He's got a young child. Here's the thing about going to Anaheim or Dallas. Dallas has the worst travel schedule in the NHL. Anaheim's pretty bad too. So a lot of players don't want to play for Western teams. Minnesota is, when it comes to the West, is probably one of the better travel places. Travel, because they're St. Louis, they're pretty close to everything. And if they do go out east, they're right there. It's not bad. But Dallas is brutal. So if he goes to Dallas and he's got a young child, he's going to be on the road a lot more. He's going to be getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning, give your wife a peck on the cheek, and off you go again, stuff like that. But if the wife's like, you know what, I wouldn't mind the warm weather in the winter. They are a champion. They are, a good team. They're definitely a contender, especially if they get a guy like Larkin. How are they going to pay for him? I don't know. You probably won't be able to pay Robertson if you get Larkin. So I think he can probably scratch that off the list, unless they think Larkin is that much better than Hintz, which I do think he is. They put Hintz in the deal, and they'd have to get rid of some money, which would be good for Detroit because I'm sure they want players back. They're probably not going to give up any defensemen because they're pretty thin on D as it is. So, I'm pretty sure Detroit would be asking for Maverick Bourque, Hintz, and something, which would be good for them. But again, I mean, that's assuming that Larkin is going to give you several teams. I just can't. A lot of the times I look at things from what I would do if I was in that situation. If I'm in that situation, I want to win a cup. I don't want to give Stevie Eiserman. Look, I gave you 10 years of my life, all right? I don't owe you shit. I don't think Larkin owes Detroit anything. Yeah, okay, they gave you millions of dollars. Well, of course, I'm an NHL player. I know that sounds entitled, but I've worked my ass off to get here. Players worked their balls off. They gave up their lives. They gave up social lives. They did everything. They had to, there's a lot of players that have like natural talent like that, but very few that are willing to be determined to become an NHL player. It's not easy. There's very few players that can just naturally play in the NHL. Usually you got to work your bag off to get there. He worked his bag off to get there. He gave Detroit 10 years to win for his goal to win a cup. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. He's going to move on. So if I'm him, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to give them like 7 teams and they're going to rape the team I'm going to? So they're not a contender anymore either. Like it's his agent's going to call around and say, maybe I could see Washington. If he's going to go a little further away from home, those winters aren't too bad there in Washington. I could see Washington. Strome, McMichael, that Russian Miroshnichenko or whatever his name is, kid. I don't think that's a very good return, to tell you the honest truth. But I mean, I'm not giving up Leonard if I'm Washington. There's no freaking way. I'm not giving up Wilson. No way. He's 2. No way. It would be Larkin plus for Robertson, and now they have no center, Larry. Now they don't have a center, but you do have Robertson. And Robertson doesn't have to go there. Why would Robertson want to go to Detroit with no Larkin? Here's the other thing. If anybody has a no trade clause in their contract, like I don't know when they put in their no trade clause teams, places you don't want to go, like for your NTC. But if you've got a significant no trade clause in your contract, if Detroit's not already on it, as soon as you're able to put your no trade list up, Detroit will be on it. You want to go to a Detroit team without Larkin? Why? Nobody's going to want to go there. So Robertson has trade protection. Right now, he's a restricted free agent. They can. Let's see. Does he have any trade protection? I think he does. Let's see. No, he's too young. This is his last year of his ELC, isn't it? No, he's had a contract in between there. Let me see. What's he got? 4.5. No, doesn't have no trade clause. He doesn't have a no trade clause. Well, what he can do is, this is what Robertson can do. Let's say he finds out he's in the Detroit deal. He doesn't have a contract right now, right? So he can put his number down. He can place his number. He's got. He can say, if I'm going to Detroit, I want 14 million. Then they'd have to force him. You got to really get a read, because that can be a very uncomfortable situation. If they call up his agent and say, look, we're looking to trade Larkin, we're going to add some more pieces, and we're looking to trade him for Robertson. The agent goes and talks to Robertson, or he already knows. He's going to say, well, you can do that, but he really doesn't want to go there. Like, he doesn't. He's going to want more money if he goes there. He's going to want to be in the 14 million mark. And Detroit could hold out on him or something. Maybe they could do a three-way deal. Maybe that's the answer here. I think that's probably the answer here. Is a three-way deal of some kind. And this is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to go to Minnesota. They're going to get Urhoff, which is maybe a second line center eventually. Like right now, he looks kind of good. He's got upside, but Urhoff, Middleton, or Brodin. I don't know if Brodin has Detroit on his no trade clause. Middleton doesn't have one. They're 2027 first, and then they're going to call up Vancouver and ask what it takes to get Pettersson out of there with a little bit retained. And Pettersson comes over, you got Urhoff, and you got a bit of a defenseman there, something like that, but something like that. Okay, let's see what he says. Eisenman's not trading him. Now, this is the only way you're going to convince Larkin to go to Dallas if he doesn't want to go to Dallas. Is you're basically going to have to say, you're not leaving here until I get this, this, and this. That's what he's going to have to say. So how badly does he want out right now? Like right now. How badly does he want out immediately? It's going to be a very uncomfortable situation for Larkin after he publicly asked for a trade. It's going to be a very uncomfortable situation for Detroit after he publicly asked for a trade. So Stevie Yzerman's going to have to come out and say, we all love Dylan. Dylan's been great for this organization, but I've got a team to run. I need to get a return. He asked for the trade. So until I get blah, 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 he's not going anywhere. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to iron fist it. He may not say that publicly, but he is going to say that to Larkin and his agent. He's going to tell him, go out and find something. I want this, this, and this, or you're not going anywhere. That's what they're going to have to say. And Dylan Larkin can say, I'm only waiting for Minnesota. So with this, I'll wait it out. I'll wait it out. You guys will look like assholes. Stevie Yzerman's going to have to realize that he's probably not making the playoffs next year because that energy in that room would be absolute garbage. There's no way they're not making the playoffs. All the drama and everything that will go on with that. You're going to be asked that question every single day. Media all over the place constantly. They're both going to have to play a bit of chicken here. You don't want the distraction, so it has to be done before the draft, Larry says. It only gets done before the draft if Stevie Yzerman takes less to get it done. Does Larkin care about the distraction? No. Not necessarily. I mean, it would be uncomfortable having to answer the questions all the time, for sure. Maybe he doesn't want that drama. Like both of them get together and say, look, you don't want the drama of having media all over you all the time. I need to get this much back. And then his agent and he is going to go to Minnesota and say, what can you give to Detroit that doesn't hurt the team too much that we can win a cup, but satisfies what he wants? His job's already on the line. He's not going to convince Larkin to go somewhere where they got a roster to go there. It's not going to happen. He's not going to waive in a situation where if he goes there, they're no better than they were before he went there. He's not going to do that. Yeah, and it depends on what they could. I don't believe he would do that. Why would he do that? You want to go to the New Jersey Devils? They haven't won shit in forever. You go to Carolina, his agent talks to the manager and says, look, Stevie Y is going to want Stankoven, Nadeau, 2 firsts. If Stevie Y says, oh, I want Aho back, go fuck yourself. It's not happening. It's not happening. Larkin will stew in Detroit forever. There's no way Carolina is going to give Aho for Larkin. That's just a lateral move. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's not happening. Maybe Stankoven. Yeah. Maybe Stankoven. They got they love that Nikishin kid maybe more than they should. Nikishin, Stankoven, and like a second round pick because Carolina hates to give up their first or something like that. They got to work out a deal. They would have to work out a deal that does it that Carolina can be comfortable. They're a better team, and Larkin can be comfortable that they're a better team if they do it. So almost assuredly, Stevie Yzerman's not winning the deal. It's just damage control. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yzerman could take futures back and package him for another player. Package it for another player. That's possible. You got to get on that right away, though. Like, I think this is going to take a bit. I don't think this is going to happen before the draft. I really don't. Who's going to, like, you're not, yeah. What team? Minnesota doesn't have a first. St. Louis, maybe? The 15th overall, if he's willing to go to St. Louis. I have no idea. He'd have to waive to go to St. Louis, talk to his family. Like, I'm pretty sure if he goes to his wife and says, oh, St. Louis is looking, she's going to be like, really? St. Louis? We really, not really. It's not on my vision board, honey, to go to live in St. Louis. It's further away from our family. It's pretty much the same coldness. They haven't won in a while. They're sort of in rebuild mode. They tried to get rid of Parayko. So I don't think that's putting alarm bells on his head, but 15th overall, he's got to be more than that, I would think. Detroit's not just going to – I don't think you're getting a Larkin-level player for the future for a 15th overall if you take the 15th overall and try to trade it. And that's their pick, actually. I just thought about that. That's what they gave up for Falk. So you think they're going to give it, imagine that. They traded Larkin to St. Louis and they get the first for Larkin and they gave that pick up for Falk. That would be freaking brutal. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to look at like how uncomfortable each other are, and they're going to have to go around and find something that makes sense. And Stevie Yzerman, like maybe like you said, Larry, he's going to look at before he even makes the trade, he's going to find out what he can get from every team, from the team, and then call around and see if he can do a 3-way deal or make a deal afterwards or something like that. But, I mean, how many centers are out there? How many teams are really rebuilding out there? I seriously think they get Urov, who's ready, Middleton, and a first, and then they turn around and get Pettersson from Vancouver, which won't cost them much except against the cap. If they retain, they probably don't have to give much. I don't know, I've heard conflicting reports of what the returns could be for Pettersson, but for the most part, it's not very good. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to start the season with your captain waiting out, Larry. But you also have to. It depends on how much Larkin is going to bend here. It's really that's what it depends on. And I think that Yuroff deal can make sense. I don't think Minnesota is like kicking themselves that they're losing Yuroff if they're getting Larkin back. The only problem is they got cap issues too. I imagine they may have to give a warm body back, like to make that deal work. They got to fill out their roster. I think they've only got 14 million in cap space. I think it might be the best deal for them. Low key, Minnesota's kind of in trouble right now until next year. Next year is their big, like, go boom year because they got tons of cap space next year. This year they got 12 million. What's Larkin making? 8? So, Europe, I mean, they could fit him under the cap, but how are they gonna? They got Zuccarello. Is Zuccarello gonna like do a really low deal? Johansson played for like 800K last year. I just can't imagine how he does that again. They got to fill out roster spots there. Maybe they just do it and try to fill it as you go because Hartman and Yuroff maybe because that puts. But then you have no third line center. Hartman would be 4. Middleton is what? 4. There you go. Hartman, like I think what they're going to try to do is give them Hartman, Middleton, and Lambeau and first round picks and positive. The Stevie Y is like, no, if you're off some of the deal, we're out. What do they have? They have one 2027 first, 28 first. Just throw all their firsts away. Hartman, Middleton, and the 2 firsts, and then Detroit tries to use those firsts to get. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. You can try to get a first time guy, but I just don't see it happening, Larry. It doesn't make sense. How I don't see it happening. He's going to have to, like you said, maybe try to get. He could package Yuroff and the 2 first round picks or whatever, and try to get a center out there. I think there isn't any. Nobody's giving up centers right now, man. There's no centers out there. The only one is Pedersen. I'm pretty positive he's going to be forced to call Vancouver and cross his fingers that they can find a way to get Pedersen back to his old self, at least like 80 or 90%. That's not going to cost you anything. So you've got Yuroff growing as a center. I think that's pretty much what it's going to be. If Stevie Yzerman goes to Minnesota and says, I want Eriksson Ek, they're going to be like, you're not improving us enough to do that. So go somewhere else. And then he's going to have to go to Larkin and say, well, I need a player like this or you're going to sit. Then what's going to happen? Larry, you just said they got to get it done before the season starts. Well, if he puts his foot down and tries to get a center that's as good as Larkin or better, then it's not happening. He's going to have to play him, or like Larkin's going to have to play for Detroit and just like it until something happens, because that ain't happening. There's no way I'm giving up a center as good as Larkin to get Larkin. And if Larkin is also doesn't want that to happen. He wants to go and make a team better and win a cup. He doesn't want to, like, what's a lateral move going to do? He could force Larkin's hand to try to expand his places that he's willing to go and then maybe get a better package that way. That's what could happen. But if Larkin calls his bluff, he's in Stevie Y's in hot water, man. Stevie Y is in hot water. Yeah, I mean, you could take a chance with Gustafson. Send that Kosa kid back with Larkin because Kosa's basically asked for a trade. The only thing is Gus is. I don't think you're getting Urov or Hartman, Middleton, and Gus. That makes sense. Then Kosa, uh, Kosa goes back because they're going to need a goaltender. They can find a backup for and then you got a number one goaltender. The problem is Gus. You have to make sure that Gustafson is okay from his hip surgery. He just had hip surgery. I don't know how major of a hip surgery that was, but I'm going to send this out. But he may not have a choice. I mean, he may have to take a chance on that. I kind of like that deal. Let me put that up. You're off for Hartman, Middleton, and Gustafson, and maybe a first-round pick. I don't know. They probably wouldn't want to give up the first if they did that, a deal like that. You're off Middleton and Gustafson. I think you're probably you got to be very happy if you're Stevie Y if you can get a package like that when you have no leverage whatsoever, assuming you don't have leverage. Other than that, you're having to create leverage, and the only way you can do that is tell them, "I'm not trading unless I get blah blah blah." Not trading it. Now, Stevie Yzerman, I suppose, could try to go home run and add, like, maybe the LA Kings is something that their family would be interested in. Maybe they don't care about being home anymore and they want the anonymity and, a sexy city like LA. LA will be in there like a dirty shirt, for sure. You could probably get, if he puts his foot down and says, we need blah, 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 you might get Byfield plus something out of LA or LaFerriere. Who else? I love that Wright kid in LA. If they'd be willing to do that, Ferrier, Wright. I don't think they have their first round pick. I don't think you get a defenseman out of there because the only defenseman they really have is Clark, and Doughty's getting up there now. You're not getting him. They're not giving up Anderson. Their defense blows actually. They don't really have a goaltender to give back, so I think it would be something like that. But again, that's assuming that Larkin wants to go to LA. If he wants to go to LA. I'm just sending this out. Come join the discussion. Imagine being a Detroit fan right now. I would hate to be a Detroit fan right now. But like LA is out there. Like, okay, you said the top 3 locations. I'd say LA, um, Carolina, Washington would be my 3 besides Minnesota. Top 3 besides Minnesota. LA or yeah, maybe Anaheim. LA, Anaheim. And that would just be if they want to go to a warm weather place, not have to be watched everywhere they go. It's possible. It's possible they like that idea. You've been in Detroit for 10 years. Everybody knows your name. You just got a young kid. It's very possible that they're thinking, I don't know if I want the media all over me all the time. I don't know if I want my child to be going to school and everybody knows who they are. There are challenges to being like a kid whose father is, huge like that. It can create just as many challenges as it creates more challenges than anything. You're kind of held to a high standard. You never hear the end of it. Talking about your dad all the time. You you you're under you're kind of under a spotlight all the time because your dad is that. They go to LA and he's just a normal kid in school. Like they don't even, oh, you play for the LA Kings. Like most people don't even care. Oh, Winnipeg will definitely give them a call, Larry. Winnipeg will definitely give them a call. 8%, I think that's high, Larry. 8% chance he goes to Winnipeg. I think that's high. Definitely Winnipeg would give him a call. And they would give up that 8th overall for sure. Plus 8th overall, plus probably Perfetti. Like, what the fuck do you want? If Larkin said, "Yeah, I can go to Winnipeg," they would be like spewing all over themselves, man. Freaking sticky all over that office. Fuck, they'd be having a Jaime's moment for sure. Jaime's body limit's the best there. So Utah. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to go Utah? It is warmer in Utah, isn't it? It's no, they get some cold weather in Utah too. It's on the colder side. That's why they have the blizzard and stuff like that. I don't know why you'd want to go there. Sometimes players want to go places for reasons that are different than most. Like Demidov wanted to go to Montreal, apparently. Just wanted to go to Montreal. Now, a lot of players don't want to go to Canadian cities because they're like of the highest no teams on the no trade clause lists in on the Athletic and ESPN. All the Canadian teams are in the top highest, close to top highest. But if you don't care, if that's not a priority of yours, I totally get why you want to go to Montreal. I've mentioned this before. I absolutely love that city. If I was a player, I didn't care about the taxes. If I could play in Montreal, I would be there. I would be there. I love that city. I like Toronto too. I'd love to play in Toronto. Yeah, I know. This question is like, would I wave to Buffalo? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to live in Buffalo. Just me. And not too many people would. Would he? Maybe. Maybe. Here's something, Larry. Ooh, spicy stuff. Maybe Kaner goes back home. And maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe Kaner goes back home to Buffalo now that they're good. And Larkin's like, I'm going to go play with Kaner. Possibly. Now, what are you talking about? Like, they're not going to want to give Hellenus. Maybe Osland. Osland Lund, I think it is. Osland. Uh, ah, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You would have thought Kane would have been. Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't go to Buffalo before because they were no good, but maybe now he's like, you know what? Let's see if we can win a cup at home. Finish my career off with a cup in my hometown. And Larkin says, I'll come with you. Or Kane says, you want to come with me? Or it's, yeah, to Larkin. And Larkin goes, not too far away from home. Get to hang out with you still. Maybe. Maybe he's not the only one that goes. Maybe Drinkhead says, yeah, I want to trade too. just all the good Detroit players go over to Buffalo. That would be fucking hilarious. And knowing Kekalainen is not playing by the rules, dude. No way. I don't think anybody is like this tampering bullshit that comes up every once in a while. You know how notice how it goes away really quick. Oh, I'm gonna tampering with Marner. Yeah, like you don't tamper. Fuck off. If you're not tampering, then you're a stupid general manager. You shouldn't be there. Of course you are. You're not talking to agents. You're not. You don't have people going. You don't have scouts going up to the agents and going da 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 da. You know, don't give me that bullshit. I don't buy it for a fucking second. Tampering nonsense. I don't buy it for a second. Yeah, I mean that's if you want to go out and left field a little bit, or like I swear Brinkett has blackmail on Kane. Yeah, I mean I don't know. Like if Kane goes and Larkin goes, what happens after that? They have so much damage control they're going to have to do there. Holy fuck! They're going to be in a deep rebuild again. They haven't even barely got out of the one that they were in. It's so sad. So sad for Detroit fans. I feel for you, man. Detroit fans are killer fans. They love their team. You know, like Hockey Town USA. I don't necessarily agree that that's Hockey Town, but they have that moniker. Uh, you know, you could make a case Minnesota or whatever, but um, interesting to think if Kane went to Buffalo, and I wouldn't doubt that Kekalainen's like on Kane's agent going, hey man, come on home. Come on home. We'll give you like I don't know what they're gonna give him because they need to sign their own guys too. Like a replacement for Tuck. I mean, he doesn't replace Tuck, but there's a couple things that don't jive with that idea. Um, they would probably have to trade Norris in that deal to make the money work. Which I would do. I mean, Norris is good, but you know how Ottawa Senators fan, Larry. You know how it works with Norris. Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, you're going to need way more than the plus. Krebs would be the plus. Krebs would be the plus. Uh, you got to take Norris, Krebs. Byram? Norris, Krebs, Byram? I think that's too much. They got their first round picks for days. Let's take a look at how that'll work. I mean, like I said, I think that's a dark horse idea, but it's not outlandish that can happen. It's not outlandish. They got three first round picks. So Norris, from they wouldn't trade they wouldn't do the Parayko trade because St. Louis wanted Norris back. Ryan McLeod. Does Ryan McLeod have trade protection? I mean, he's not going to move the needle too much. He doesn't have a no movement clause till next year. And I don't like he doesn't really move the needle for Detroit for what they need. But they got a lot of assets. Like McLeod, Kulich is coming back off of blood clot. Like, how good is he going to be? Oslin, McLeod, Kulich, or something like that. Oslin, McLeod, Kulich. They got depth. They got two young guys. Then they go out, like I said, they go out and get Pedersen. So they build up. They got a bunch of depth around their team, and they go out and get trade like JT Compher, and they said they were looking for character guys. I don't know if JT Compher is a character guy, but he doesn't want to be there anymore. JT Compher for Pedersen, not retained. How much does Detroit have in cap space? 30 million. Wow, they got lots of cap space. 30 million. And I mean, only Van Riemsdyk, if they're going to sign him, Perron, they're probably not going to sign him. Patrick Kane wouldn't be coming back. Larkin's already gone. So they could do a deal like that and go scope out the free agent market, overpay for some guys, McMahon, Jenner, and just have this like really deep team. Yeah, I mean, if you get Robertson, if they get Robertson somehow, I'm just thinking what what would Dallas do? You'd have John. You'd have who's going to be their left winger? I personally think that Robertson and Dallas settle for about 12.5. They only got 10 million, but they do some sort of a deal. Yeah, like if they trade Robertson away, they've got nobody on the left side. Sam Steele, Rakovian. Jamie Benn if they sign him. I mean, that's the bad part about that. Wyatt Johnson can play right. They got no left wingers. They'd have to go out and sign some left wingers. It'd be Larkin plus. So Finney and Larkin for Robertson somehow. And then they go get Pedersen. I mean, it kind of makes sense in a hockey way. I'm just not sure if it makes sense in a Larkin wants to go to Dallas way. And I don't. Oh yeah, I don't make. I really don't think it makes sense in Robertson wants to go to Detroit way. But it could. I mean, it's not outlandish to think that somehow that works out. Maybe. It's not outlandish that. I mean, he doesn't. He would have to go because he's a restricted free agent. He has no choice. Like he doesn't have any. But I mean, if you go and make that Robertson deal, he's only got one more year and he's a free agent. That's the other part. So you go get Robertson and he doesn't sign long with you, you're fucked. You have to make damn good. You have to have a contract in hand to make that deal. You have to have a contract in hand, and I'm pretty sure Roberts is going to say 14 mil, 14 for 8. He's got all the leverage in the world, 14 for 8, and maybe Detroit goes okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Stevie Y knew this. It's not hard to get rid of 2 million somehow. They can sign him if they want, as long as he comes in at 12 something. Depends on what they want to do. Do they want to build around Robertson? They got and go that way, or do they? I mean, either way, let's face it, nobody's talking about it, but Dallas is in a low key retool right now. Borderline rebuild. If they lose Robertson, like Larkin's 29 years old, maybe you get Finney Hintz moves on that side. I mean, just not. I don't know. The roster doesn't really excite me, but it might save their ass a little bit if they did it. But it's like I said, the only way that is happening is if Robertson puts pen to paper and says, I'll take the 8 years at 14 million. I'm pretty sure it's going to be high up there in the 14 million range if he leaves. And I mean, honestly, with the cap space they have, I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit says, good, let's do it. They wash themselves of this Larkin situation. They come up kind of smelling a little bit like roses, except that they don't have a first line center. And then they go out and get Pedersen and cross their fingers. That's what I think would happen in that situation. Sagan's out. Ben sucks. Like they got Rich Kovian is good, and they quite often get some surprise players, but that seems to be waning now. I don't know. Like you look at that Dallas lineup, and it's not blowing you out of the water without Robertson in it. Like say you got Larkin, why Johnston can play right side, and Hintz can play left. So you could have put Hintz on the left side, but I think Hintz is more valuable as a center, and I think Johnston is more valuable as a center. But if you're going to get Larkin, you probably have to put Hintz, Larkin, Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, and what else? Maverick Bork, Sam Steele. I thought Antonio Stranges was going to actually look like he wasn't going to be bad, but he took a big step back last year. Then I think the whole team was ass, so maybe. I mean, defense wise, they're okay. What do they have for free agents? Like Jamie Benn, league min at best. Michael Bunting's probably gone. They're not signing many of these guys. Oh, and they still got to sign Bork too. So Not looking spectacular in Dallas. Yeah, he's getting 12 plus for sure. No doubt about that. But if he goes to Detroit, he's probably getting 14. He, he may sign for the 12 or whatever to stay in Dallas so he doesn't have to move and stuff like that. But if he's going somewhere else, and especially if he's going to a team that hasn't made the playoffs in the last 9 years, he's going to be looking for more of the bag, I think. He's going to be looking for about 14. And I think Detroit would be fine with that. Or he can just say, yeah, I'll go play for a year. And then I'm a free agent. He can go wherever the fuck he wants. I think that's pretty likely too. It's pretty likely that he says, "I'll go play with you, but I'm gonna be I'm gonna be testing the market at the end of that year." And then Detroit's like, "Okay, we're not doing that." So, and I think that's most likely what's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in that. I mean, with the cap going up, I could see him getting more than Rantanen. And people will get upset. Well, he's better than Rantanen. I don't understand that bullshit. Rantanen signed that last year or the year before. The cap's going up. You want to keep the guy or not? Oh, tell him he can walk because he's not as good as Rantanen and he wants more. Okay, he walks. You guys suck. All right, have fun with that. Fucking, it's so funny listening to fans saying, "Oh, they should just let him walk." Okay, so they let him walk. Next year they blow. All right, see, wasn't it worth the paying him more than this guy? It's because if you're whatever moral reasons why you should make more money, value is value. What's the value to your team? 12, yeah, I don't know if he's going to want more than Rantanen. I don't know if he's going to, it's not really him either. There's a lot of underlying things that go with this, too. You have the union involved, you have all kinds of stuff. The union gets involved in these salary things. Yeah, they almost, from what I understand from some insiders, I actually have insiders now, believe it or not. I'm not going to say their names in every situation, but from what I understand, the union is almost getting to the point where they set salaries. I don't know how there are players that just seem to tell the union to go stick it in their hat. I don't know what kind of power the union has to punish those guys for anything. I don't know how they do it. Like, I don't know why a player would give a fuck what their union says. I'm paying you, like, whatever. I don't know how that works. Yeah, I know. I knew Larry was going to try to figure out a way why Larkin would go to Canada. Zetterlin a first and really Greg? Yeah, right. Okay, buddy. That would definitely, yeah. I mean, if for some reason Larkin said, "I only want to go to Ottawa," you might work. That might work out for you. Yeah, but I still think Minnesota just makes too much sense. Him and Hughes have the same agent. It's still close to home. There are factors that maybe I don't know about the person of Larkin. It's the only team he wants to go 100%. Yeah, right. Um, it's close to home. It's right, still in the United States. They're not far from Detroit. Hughes is there. They got the same agent. They need a center. Him filling that center spot would definitely make them a serious contender. It just all makes sense that way. The only way it doesn't happen is, like I said, maybe the family. Well, he's only got one child. I was surprised to see that, but maybe his wife was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to be in the cold anymore. I wouldn't mind going to sexy LA and shopping and, going to all the fancy stores and, you know, great restaurants, cafes, freaking all that shit. Like having the exciting downtown life. Doesn't take me as that type of dude, but who knows? You don't know what anybody is outside of their lives. Maybe that's it. You know, maybe they don't. Maybe like I know for me, if I was a hockey player, let's say I was born in like did what the great Johnny Gaudreau did, uh, and all his family's in New Jersey. He's from New Jersey, and he chose Columbus. Um, Something to do. His wife liked the hospital there. Like, wow, she must be love nursing. Husband's making 10 sheets, and she's still being a nurse. That is freaking crazy. My wife's a nurse. She loves helping people, but I'm making 10 sheets. She ain't a nurse. All right. No doubt about that. She's hella retired. So I don't know what kind of nurse she was either. Sometimes it's a little. Sometimes she could be a scientific nurse or something. I don't know what it was, but I do understand him going to Columbus though, because Columbus is what 8 hours from, maybe 10 hours from New Jersey, something like that. It's a really quick plane trip away. So going from Calgary, where your family is way gone and like you don't get to see them very often, but you get to go back to Columbus. You go to Columbus, and your family is near, but not too near. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're making 10 million a year. Sometimes you don't want your family all that close. You know, your fourth cousin coming over every day. All of a sudden, you got a lot of best friends, or yeah. You also have, mother-in-laws, in-laws. You don't want people hanging on your ass all the time everywhere you go, but you still love them. Still want to see them. Get kids, your grandchildren can. You're making that kind of money. They can jump on a plane in Columbus and go see their grandparents in New Jersey. You don't have to go, so you don't have to see them all the time. Yeah, you can pay for their flights to come see you on special holidays or in the summer a little bit more or whatever, but they don't have to live right beside you. So, uh, yeah, if you go to Mini, maybe it's a little more like that too. Yeah, you're close, but you're not that close. So that's what I think is going to happen. If it doesn't, be interesting to see what it does happen. I just don't think it's a money thing. Like, you didn't even talk about Seattle would be on the phone. Seattle's on the phone to anybody with a name right now. And you could get, I mean, if for some reason he'd be willing to go to Seattle, it is a no tax state, but it is a no tax state, far away from home. You're not even getting the sun, and I mean, in the summer it's beautiful there, but there's a shit ton of rain, and it's cold in the wintertime. Like it's chilly, like humid chilly. But if for some reason you wanted to go there, it depends on the big players that are. I don't think it depends on the big players that are offered by Stevie Y. I don't know. Like I don't think that I if I'm Larkin and let's say you're going like say that Robertson deal. If I'm Larkin, I'm like, I'm not waving to Dallas. Look what their team's gonna look like if I go there and Robertson comes back. The whole reason why they're good is because of Robertson and Rantanen. Take Robertson off and we're probably not much better than Detroit. I mean, it is better, but it's not really a cup contender. I would be like, no, man, you got to do something different. I want you to get something back and do something, but you're not raping the team I'm going to. I gave you 10 years of my life. You didn't do fuck all. This is your fault. That's what I would tell Stevie Y. It's your fault. You didn't build a team in 10 years of my life. I'm not going to rape the team I'm going to. So you got to figure out something. Either get prospects back you can trade for to another team. I'm fine with that. I don't care. But I'm not going to rape the team I'm going to. Like, okay, let's say he does move at the draft. What teams is he going to there? He's not going to San Jose. I know Celebrini's really good, but that team, when you think about, okay, they almost made the playoffs last year in the Pacific. Like if they're in a different division, they're not even close. That team's still not a ways away yet from being a contender, even with Celebrini on it. Anaheim doesn't have a draft pick. Like I'm talking about the top picks. He's not going to Chicago. He's not going to Toronto. That wouldn't make sense. He's not going to New York right now. Not going to Calgary. Not likely going to Seattle. I couldn't see it. They haven't did fuck all. Like you're getting down Florida. There you go. We didn't even talk about Florida. Didn't even talk about Florida. I don't know why Florida would be in on that though. They don't really. They got Lundell and Barkov up the middle, so I don't. I'm sure that would be something he would consider. Tampa. We didn't talk about Tampa. If they want to go to a nice warm place, but Tampa would have to convince them that they're contenders. They're getting pretty old there, and I don't know what the hell the return there would be. I like I like the Minnesota angle the best. I like the Minnesota likelihood the best out of all of them. The Buffalo is a fun one to think about if Kane wants to go home and can convince Larkin to go there. I probably when we started doing this, I wouldn't have put Buffalo on the list, but I could put that Buffalo on the list just because of that. Be interesting. Yeah, the assets and cap room I believe doesn't matter if Larkin doesn't want to go there. You can have all the assets and cap room coming out of your fucking yin yang. It doesn't matter. If Larkin doesn't want to go there, he's not going there. That doesn't mean shit. But it's first, is he going there? Is he going to waive to go there? That's the first thing. Because Larkin's not going anywhere he doesn't want to. No way. I can't. I mean, I don't know why anybody would. You spent 10 years in a city. You've got an option now to ask for a trade. You have a no trade clause in your contract. You have an option to find exactly what's good for you and your family. That's what you're going to fucking do. You're not going to like, oh, I really feel bad, Stevie. I'll give you teams I don't want to go to. Fuck that. No way. Like if that was my son, I'd be like, don't. You're not going anywhere you don't want to go to. Fuck that. You're going exactly where you want to go to. You worked for that no trade clause. You you gave them 10 years of your life. You're not going to go. You're not going to settle. No way. Yeah. So in the end, he goes to Ottawa. All right. I don't know if anybody's actually going to watch this for an hour and a half, but that was fun. I enjoyed it. Larry, thanks for coming in. Anybody else that watched this? Who else do we have in here? Derek Avila Liner? Avi Liner. Is that Avi? That's not Avi. He didn't change his name. All right. Those are the places where I thought it would be fun to get on and talk about this. So it was good times. Am I doing a show tonight? No, I'm not doing a show tonight. Watching the game tonight. That's going to be awesome. A lot of people are on Carolina tonight. I'd be careful. I would be careful. That's all I got to say about that. When I saw Carolina, I didn't see a team that didn't play well defensively. I saw a team that was forced to play bad defensively. Brindamore said, "Well, I don't know what happened with our team. We're not, we don't. What happened to our team tonight? I know what happened to your team tonight. Vegas was what happened to your team tonight. That's why they came out flat because they were on a long layoff. When they got their shit together, they were beating you to pucks. No reason for that. Weren't able to get possession in the offensive zone because Hannafin and Anderson and Theodore move the puck super quick, and they're big, so you can't fight them off the puck like you could against Montreal. They had and Ottawa, and Philadelphia. Like it's another level playing now against Vegas, and this is what usually kills them. The big teams usually burn them. So I guess you got to go out and get Larkin, Carolina.